Welcome everyone to another episode of the Pearce Brothers. Today we're doing something a little different. With all the new followers and that we've got, and it's been a year since we started the channel, we thought we'd do a little bit of a introduction and get to know the Pearce Brothers a little better. So we're going to start off with Porter and go down the line and talk about our family and our work, kind of what we do for our full-time livings. Because this YouTube is still just a hobby on the side that we do, trying to grow the channel and that. So we wanted to let you know kind of what we do, and then we'll dive into our areas of expertise after that. So, Port?
Well, we can't say it's oldest to youngest. It's obviously shortest to
shortest to tallest, yep.
Anyways,
Port's always been the runt of the family.
Yeah,
so.
I always have been. Will was taller, Joe's taller, Jake's taller, everyone's taller than me.
Even Ashley.
She's close. She's 5'9". Anyways, all right. Well, I'm Porter from the Pearce Brothers. I grew up doing horses and cows, and so that's what I've always done. I've always been a horse trainer, running cows as well. There for a while there, I was full-time horse training, and then helping Dad run his cows on the side. And I was riding 10 or 12 a day typically with my wife. That was before we had our daughter. Anyways, but about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a pretty bad horse accident where I injured my right hip and my right foot in the same accident. A horse went down with me and landed on top of me, and I've never been the same ever since. So,
mentally too.
Yeah, mentally.
With all the brain damage.
Well, luckily.
So, if you ever see Port do something stupid, you're like, well, probably from the horse accident.
Yeah, or one of the many horse accidents. I broke my sternum about 3 years on another horse.
And then all the other accidents as a kid, like banging your head on the stairs, and Joe sticking a knife in your head.
Oh, that kind of counts. I was like the test dummy of the family, okay? You guys shoved me down an irrigation pipe, like drain pipe, to get a muskrat out, and the pipe was like that big, and they shoved me clear through it, and it was like 30 feet long.
I went down it with you. They shoved me down too.
You guys all shoved me in first, and then I was like, I can't make it, and then they shoved Jake in behind me to help push me through the rest of the way.
I knew nothing of this.
And there was water and mud going through, and then after the muskrat goes out the other end, they all just left and abandoned me in there.
You had to go find the muskrat.
Anyways, but yeah, after that horse accident about 4 or 5 years ago, I quit full-time horse training. I went to full-time farrier work, and so I trim horses' feet all day, every day. Anyway, so yeah, once in a while though in the videos you'll see me take kind of a weird step or half limp, or some days it's just hurting more than others, so I'll be kind of gimping the whole day. That's usually from that pinched hip.
We're just gonna start calling Port Gimpy, like on is that Rio Bravo?
Yeah. Stumpy.
Yeah, Stumpy. There we go. Yeah,
Stumpy. Anyways, but yeah, so that's kind of me in a nutshell. I got a wife. You've seen her on a couple of videos now. Her name's Aurora, and then I have a daughter named Abby. She's been in like the pumpkin carving video and stuff. She's 6, going on 7 in April. So, that's me. I full-time do farrier work, and then I still ride horses all the time on the side and help ranchers up north gather cows and brand them and stuff. Every spring I brand about 2,000 to 3,000 head of cows, so or calves I should say, not the cows, the calves. So yeah, we're always busy doing ranch stuff at my house. So
yep.
Anyways, all right, Dad.
Well, I'm Brian Pearce.
I guess Port already mentioned, this is Dad, not a brother.
Sorry.
We're all the Pearce brothers, but
we started out as just the brothers, and then Dad joined later. So
we have one brother that's a lot older than the rest of us. No, this is Dad. So,
well, I'm Brian Pearce. I don't know where to begin. I born and raised on ranches, remote ranches in Oregon and Idaho. Different way of life. They were out on the Oregon Trail and throughout central Idaho. As a kid, I remember driving, nearly 1,000 head of mother cows from our ranch from outside of Weiser, Idaho, up north through to Council, up on Council Mountain, our summer pastures, and we'd go about 70 miles of those over about a week and sleep on the ground. It was a different world then, and of course horseback. Everything was done by horseback, and but I learned to carry and shoot a handgun a lot. Fell in love with 6 guns. Done a ton of hunting with them. And that's kind of an area that people consider my expertise, but I also do a lot with lever guns and modern bolt rifles, modern so-called tactical guns, if you will. I have a very broad spectrum of interests and so on. Been a full-time gun writer for almost 30 years. Started with the Guns and Ammo group, Peterson Publishing, and kind of a long story there. Sometime we'll get into that, but eventually I landed with Wolf Publishing, based out of Prescott, Arizona. We do rifle and hand loader magazines, other periodicals. Funny thing is, when I first started at Guns and Ammo, I was one of the few writers that was still doing cast bullets and technical, hand loading articles and so on. And so the editors immediately swept me into the technical side of guns and shooting and so on. But I also wrote for Handguns and Peterson's Hunting, Outdoor Life, a bunch of titles in there. I've worked as an industry consultant and other things over the years. So that's kind of my background, basically. Still do some ranching. Kind of a way of life you can't quit doing, a bad habit, as you'd say. So anyway.
Yeah. Dad's getting too old.
Yeah.
Once we all moved out, his free labor is gone.
Well, and Abby just this morning, Porter's daughter. We all got to Porter's
All right,
house.
let's move on.
We all got to Porter's house and they're waiting around for bed, and he's usually about 30 minutes late, and then we're all sitting there talking about it, and then Abby's like, "Be nice, he's old."
And she was trying to defend him.
I was the only one that had to get up and deal with the neighbor's cattle being on me this morning and get them pushed out, feed other people's horses. We won't mention anybody's name. Other outside chores. And anyway, these guys all sleep in. Cushy life.
I'm up at 5 every day. I'm up and at him early.
And then Jake's passed out by 8.
Up and at him and then passed out by 8. That's Jake. He's the old man of the outfit.
Yep. Anyway, so I'm Joe, and
Dirtbag is what we like to call him.
My current job is working for a local farm and ranch supply store based out of Boise, Nampa, Caldwell area. They expand from Portland or Pendleton out to Twin Falls. And I just had a career change here recently, so same kind of line of work, but a little different role at this new company, and so far so good. But I have a wife, I've been married for 10 years, and 3 kids, a boy, he's 7, and then 2 girls, 4 and 2. And then we have a boy on the way coming in March. So
6 of you here soon.
Yeah. Yeah, the transition from 2 to 3 was pretty weird. 1 to 2 got easier. 2 to 3 got really hard, because then you're really outnumbered. So we'll see how the 4th edition comes along.
You won't notice a difference.
Yeah, probably not. There's just
a little less sleep for a couple of months and then right back to normal.
And chaos.
I don't know. You and your wife are outnumbered by 1.
Yeah, they're handfuls, that's for sure.
Yep.
So
too much so sometimes.
Yep.
Want to just
be our pumpkin carving video we did. All the kids were featured in that video. They were the judges of our pumpkins after we shot them. So
if you want to know what they look like,
that's them. So yep.
Well, I guess it's on to me.
Yeah.
So I'm Jake. For work, I work for a local auto parts company. I mostly deal with their battery side of things, so I'm traveling to a lot of different ranches and farms and just other accounts all across Oregon and Idaho. Some of them are pretty remote, up in like Oxbow and halfway Oregon, and so that's pretty fun. I like it's kind of a lone wolf job, you just kind of go and do your thing, and as long as you get your work done, then everything's hunky-dory, so
yeah. And you have a wife.
Yeah, I got a wife, been married for a couple of years, somewhere around there, 2 or 3. I don't know. I can't quite remember. Anniversary, I don't even know. Can't quite tell.
August,
it's in August sometime.
Yeah, that's Jake. He never can remember important dates with his wife. That's why he's always in the doghouse.
We've mentioned a few times Jake will wind up dead one of these days. It's either going to be because he bought another gun or he forgot his anniversary.
Yep. Well, like my anniversary, the first anniversary, I knew it was coming up, and I asked my mother-in-law, I was like, "Do you remember when we got married?" It was August. It was coming up pretty soon, and then
I think it's August 20th, isn't it?
I think it's the 26th, but I don't know. Somewhere around there.
I have to go consult Facebook every year because it's either December 20th or 22nd. I forget every year, and I'm like, which day was it?
You guys terrible.
You guys can remember the serial numbers of your guns, but you can't remember your anniversary.
I remember mine, February 25th. I've been killed one too many times over that. I'll never forget that one.
Yeah.
I had to beat it into my head.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this year was the first year I didn't forget. 10 years. It took me 10 years to remember. I didn't have to look it up on Facebook this year. That was the first time ever. So,
right. When I usually use the excuse, like if it's sometime during the week, I'm like, I know it's sometime during this week, so
what day
we're both
is it?
working, so let's just celebrate our anniversary on the weekend.
hey, let's just celebrate it on Saturday.
Jake found the hack. Until they catch on, and then like, when is our anniversary though? And then you're like,
oh, it was in the summer. Yep.
Anyway,
all right.
Favorite guns.
Now, we'll kind of go into guns and areas of expertise. You know, we brought a bunch of stuff out here with us just to kind of show what we like, what we do, and for me, when we started the channel, really the whole purpose in my eyes was help people review guns, show what we like, what we use, and then what accessories we use, because there's there's a whole world of accessories out there, and there's so many price ranges from entry level to expensive, and what's good, what's great. And we get questions all the time like, oh, what gun is that, what optic, what this, what that, and I decided, why not start a channel of some kind. It started with Jake and I. Jake was on Instagram, I got on Instagram, and then Instagram, of course, if you're familiar with Instagram, it instantly shut you down. Your account can no longer be shown to non-followers, and that was like my first post, and I called Jake. I was like, what's happening? He's like, oh, that's Instagram. I was like, oh, why didn't you tell me? I went through all this work getting it set up. So then I instantly knew the next step was YouTube. I know YouTube has restrictions in that, but
it's not as bad yet.
It's not near as bad, and they're very clear about what those restrictions are, so it's easy to make a video and stay within their guidelines. Right. So that was kind of the next step. Jake and I decided, hey, we need to get a YouTube channel going, and so here we are a year later, and Dad joined the channel in May last year, and we've just been growing since, and our areas of expertise will vary greatly, as you see, as we kind of talk about what we've got and what we brought. And so I guess my areas, I love gear, so here's an Everly stock pack. I've got a bunch of cool stuff in it, but I love knives and EDC and that. So on the knife end of things, we'll cover, I've got some half-face blades.
Joe loves his half-face blades and his tomahawk.
I've got
I do Comanche or something.
I like Winkler. They make awesome stuff. Obviously, Winkler knives. They've been around making knives for a long time. And then Montana Knife Company. I got one of those in here somewhere.
It's somewhere.
Yeah, I shoved it in
Shoved
here.
in everything.
Yeah. Anyways, so I got a Canic TTI Combat. I'm more of the tactical kind of guy here. Here's a Cold Steel Laredo Bowie. I like knives all the way from your big knives to your little EDC kind of knives.
Why don't you just EDC the Bowie?
I could, run.
Yeah, be like Jim Bowie.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a Montana Knife Company shoved in there somewhere. Here's my Bravo Company all set up. I think Bravo Company makes probably one of the best ARs for the money on the market. Great rifle. We've got 5,000 rounds through this gun now. That video will be dropping the end of January, so stay tuned for that.
Well, and on the Bravo Company, there's better ARs certainly, but for the price, and especially for if you're really trying to get a really good solid entry level rifle, there's ones cheaper but I would always just try to tell people save
Better
up a little more.
accuracy, better,
Well,
just
yeah.
all around. They're
and
just
their
better.
quality control is just
Yeah.
outstanding. You know,
Yeah.
BCM's built a really good reputation, and like we said, 5,000 rounds through that gun with 0 hiccups. But that review comes out the end of the month. Here's a Colt M4 SOCOM. We just did an initial thoughts video on that, but we'll test this one a bunch and put a lot of rounds through it. That one, price point wise, is very similar to the BCM, you know, and Colt's
Yeah.
been making a great rifle for a lot of years. There's a reason they had so many of them in the military contract and that, but I've got my SIG P365. Like I said, I cover a lot of EDC related stuff. Here's my Smith & Wesson M&P. Those are great guns. This one's kind of my end of the world kind of gun. It's the Spec Series all metal with a Trijicon RMR. We just did a torture test on that RMR, and needless to say, that will probably remain on that gun forever. So
You just need to get a suppressor for it.
yep.
That's the next step, Joe.
Yeah, that's kind of my, and then, you know, as kids, we watched a lot of John Wayne. So here's my USFA 4 3/4 inch barrel. We kind of patterned this one after John Wayne's famous single action he carried in a lot of his movies. That kind of covers my general areas of what I like and what I do. I'm sure I forgot something cool
So
here to
basically,
show, but-
Joe likes modern firearms, modern gadgets, and gizmos.
Yeah, modern gadgets and
Fancy
gizmos.
telescopic sights.
But then he also, Joe's also kind of a semi-nerd, so he also likes stuff like John Wayne's gun, stuff like that. You
Yeah,
know,
the
because,
movie
you know,
stuff. You know, I like
the movie
I like
stuff.
a good movie gun.
Yeah.
John Wick.
John Wick to John Wayne, everything in between. So
Rainbow is next.
I was just telling, because it's, you know, we're just past Christmas and I watched Die Hard, great Christmas movie, and I texted Jake and I was like, I need to get a Beretta 92 now for my John McClane gun. So
Well, and as much as like you hate to admit it, sometimes movies do influence your
Taste in guns.
yeah, like
Yeah.
to a certain extent. Sometimes you see something in a movie, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. I kind of might want to pick one of those up and try it out, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not as influenced by that as some people.
whatever.
But yeah,
All right.
Well, I'll go.
Porter.
Well, my taste in guns is pretty simple. I like
Fort
a good,
likes to shoot coyotes.
yeah,
He likes to
coyotes,
hunt.
coyotes, and you're usually carrying stuff on horseback. That's about the two main things. So I brought with me one of my favorite saddle carbines.
It's a good thing that thing can't talk.
Yeah, this thing, the abuse of it, and it still runs, it still works. I love my Marlin 357 here. It's one of my favorites. I put on a ladder sight on it. We did a little snidbit of a review on that, and then one of my favorite guns to carry on horseback as well, because I'm always on horseback, it seems like, is my Blackhawk 45. I also have a 357 Blackhawk that I really enjoy and like. This one I have on some custom draft bone grips, and they're pretty worn and everything, but this gun I've killed bears with, deer, coyotes, pretty much everything. I want to get a elk this upcoming year with it, but we'll see if that ever happens.
That's a flat top medium frame 357 frame, if you
Yeah.
will. It's a gun
Yeah,
too.
really lightweight. In the wintertime, this is my favorite carry method because it keeps it nice and clean and dry, and it's easy access to get to it. But on horseback, I got a regular belt and holster with extra cartridges on, and that's how you'll see me most times when I'm out riding, is with this or my Blackhawk 357. Sometimes I'll use my Ruger Vaquero, my new Vaquero, I should say, 45 Colt. But the wintertime, you know, I'm really big into coyote shooting and stuff, and I don't have my regular coyote gun with me today. I know it's not what I normally have, is usually a bolt gun, but today I went and brought this along with me. It's just a AR 24-inch bull barrel, 1 in 8 twists, sorry, 223. so it can stabilize a little heavier bullets. It shoots really well at 100 yards.
Is it 223 or 5.56 chamber?
I forget. 223.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, shoots really well. I'm gonna spray paint it. I hate the plain black. I can't stand plain black guns. They just don't look right. But normally I have my 243 bolt gun that I usually carry out shooting coyotes and stuff, and that's got to be my favorite coyote shooting gun. But I'm more of a long range type of guy, you know, shoot coyotes at 1,000 yards or so and just have fun with it. But yeah, that's kind of my area of, I guess, should I say expertise or just interest, I should say. So anyway,
Well, I'll go next, I guess.
okay.
So
all the water snowing pretty good out here. So
So those that know me know that I really like history. I've, for whatever reason, from a really young age, 5 or 6 years old, I always just had a really strong interest in like just historical subjects and everything from pirates and knights to Civil War stuff.
World War II, World War
Yeah, yeah. And then like when I got into middle school, I started going through the library there in our school and reading every book I could find on Civil War to World War II. Kind of that area of interest. And then of course I started getting into guns around the same age, and it was kind of just a natural progression, I guess, to get interested into guns, because it's a piece of history that you can hold and shoot and use, you know. So that was always kind of interesting to me. Once I got into, of course, I graduated high school and read every single book they had on those subjects in our library, many of them 3 or 4 times, because you're stuck there for 4 years, you know. So
4 years in middle school and then 4 years in high school. Yeah, so you get kind of tired of the bullshit.
Yeah. Well, then I went to college. My original plan was to get a master's degree and teach college, because you can make some pretty good money teaching history in college, but I can never afford to actually go and get my master's. I did make it through college debt-free, though. You know, I worked 3 jobs at one point, working 3 jobs, and paid my way through college. But got a bachelor's degree in history. Took me 5 years instead of 4, because I had to defer a few times because I couldn't afford to take classes, you know. So sometimes that's what you gotta do. But yeah. And by the time I got to college, I'd kind of focused, my main area of expertise was World War II, and actually, like most of the papers I wrote for my senior thesis and stuff, I actually wrote on firearms. My last paper I wrote, it was like a 60-page paper, and I wrote it on Hiram Maxim, who of course designed invented the machine gun. But that was kind of my main interest, World War II and firearms history. So, of course, my firearms interests, everything from Civil War to modern day stuff. I'm not as into the modern day stuff as Joe per se, but I certainly like and shoot and enjoy it. Recently, though,
He got into black powder.
well, and that's the weird thing, is because as a kid I was always interested in black powder.
Just never got into it.
But never got
much.
into it. I didn't have the money to buy it, and of course Dad doesn't shoot a whole lot of black powder stuff.
So it's kind of a pain in the butt to get it and use it.
Yeah, and it was just. But recently I got into black powder, and I really just got all into it, because I'm like
Making his own powder and everything.
because making my own powder, I can shoot this for like pennies on the dollar. But I can shoot even like smokeless stuff reloading, and so this is a custom made. Literally every part on this was custom made. Richmond 1863 carbine. When talking about Civil War stuff, I really like the Confederate side of guns, because of course our family fought in the Civil War from our mom's side, and I think the Pearce side too, on the Confederate side from Georgia and Texas.
Yep.
So that side always just interested me, and so I got my custom-made Richmond carbine. I've actually been casting up some bullets for this. I and Joe are gonna be spring bear hunting this spring.
Try and get one with that.
Well, this is gonna be my backup. I've got a Dragoon that I'm gonna be sending to my friend at Goon's Gun Works, Colt's third model Dragoon. It's their 2nd gen series, and as soon as I get that back, I'm gonna That's going to be my primary. If I can't make a shot with that, then this will be my secondary.
Right.
My second choice.
And then if you run out, then pull out your Bowie knife and go to town on it.
I'll bring the tomahawk.
Yeah.
Here, take the tomahawk.
It's your bear. We can't help you. We just have to film it. Jake's over there. Back up.
But, yeah, so that'll be fun. Yeah, Civil War stuff. I've been getting into the black powder stuff a lot lately. This one, like I said, I've just been starting to cast up some bullets. I've got a Burton style Minier bullet I casted.
See how well that works.
Yeah, I sized them to 5.775. This is a measures exactly at 58 caliber bore. So, and with the hollow base, they should
slugs up good.
Yeah, it should slug up pretty good and shoot pretty good.
Right.
I'm not worried about that at all. It's got a Dan Whitaker match grade barrel on it, so I think it'll shoot pretty damn good. But those bullets weigh like 520 grains, and with a 60 grain charge of my homemade black powder, it should be pushing it at like 11 or 12, somewhere in there.
Plenty enough to kill a bear.
Yeah, yeah. So, especially just Idaho black bear, you know.
Yeah, you might get a big one be 300 to 400 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yep.
Typically in the 250 to 300 range on Idaho black bears.
Yeah.
Yep.
Again, another Civil War gun. This is my Cimarron Spencer carbine. When I was in middle school, this was 2007, my dad got a hold of one of these in 5650 Spencer and was doing some load development and stuff, and he let me shoot it. And of course I knew what the Spencer was at that age, but never thought I'd actually get a hold of one and shoot one. And so that made actually, of all the guns I shot as a kid, probably made the strongest impression on me was the Spencer. I just thought it was cool the way it loaded, cool the way it shot, and always wanted one, and
Finally got one.
finally got one. I went with 45 Colt because
It's more universal to find.
Yeah, and like brass isn't $1 a piece, and
yeah. Sometimes with historical guns like that, you don't go with the historical caliber as well. You've got to go with more modern, just because
brass and ammo are
you have to cheapen it up a little bit because our habits are already expensive. We don't get more expensive.
I might interject. That gun is his second Spencer.
Yeah,
The first one he had some problems with. It was, we won't go into all that, but this one's imported by Cimarron. It's actually worked flawless.
it's been
So far, so good.
There's a video on that coming out
Here,
January.
mid-January or somewhere in there.
Yeah, about the same time as this one drops.
So watch for that. Yeah, if it hasn't dropped already, it'll be dropping here pretty fast.
I did use that in our lever gun competition. That video just dropped a few days ago, and it did actually abysmal with it. I did figure out the sights from then. There's actually a 200-yard
So
setting
Jake's
there.
gonna ask for a rematch.
So that will be showing up on the channel again for redemption.
for redemption. Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure my gun's sighted in a little bit better. You guys don't even have a chance.
Yeah, right. That's what you say every time, Porter, and then you lose.
Well, I don't even have my reloading set up at my new house, so
Porter gets all cocky every time.
Well, he starts talking crap about everybody, and then it always comes back to bite him.
that's gonna shoot other people's guns. They suck.
So other areas of interest, of course, I always had a really strong interest in World War II firearms. Probably my favorite gun of all time is the Thompson. Spencer's pretty high up there. 1911s. This is another one that got me into pretty serious trouble. It was
recent.
Yeah, this one was just a few months ago, but Alchemy Custom Weaponry. I've never actually handled one of their guns before, but I know a few people that have owned them. I know one of their sales guys. Known him for a few years on Instagram and talked to him quite a bit. But they just introduced this model last year, 2024. It's a limited edition. They did 25 of them. They're really nice, hand-built guns, guaranteed to shoot 1.5 inches at 25 yards. Pretty accurate. I was just shooting this a couple days ago at 230 yards and made a hit or two.
I think it was like 3 out of 8, right? Is this a different target?
Yeah, this was just when we were shooting your Colt AR at that distance. I Actually shot this better than Joe's Colt at that distance.
Joe's Colt sucked.
Yeah, brand new optic, like I said. Needs a little fine tuning.
But so yeah, 1911s have always been interesting to me.
High powers.
I used to have a pretty good collection of 1911s, but only got a couple of them now. This one, and I don't want to get this one all wet, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's snowing pretty good still.
This is the, bar none, the nicest 1911 I've ever had my hands on. It's a cylinder and slide first 500 1911, and there's certainly nicer guns in terms of better sights, better triggers, but just the polish work and the hand fitment of this gun is superb.
Yeah,
so,
I'll inject the details in the polish and the sharp edges and everything in that gun are incredible. There's no photo that really captures it. You have to see it in person. It's an unbelievable gun.
Yeah. But I packed that one. Most people would get one of those and never shoot it because they were an expensive gun.
What's the point of buying it if you can't shoot it?
Well, like during the recession, I think they were selling these for $5,000. I don't know what they're bringing today. I haven't seen another one for sale. I was lucky and got this one. But I've actually packed it around and gone to a den of rattlesnakes earlier this spring and killed a few of them with that. And but yeah, it's I use it. It's one of my favorite guns. So
yeah.
Of all the people here, I've got probably the smallest gun collection. Life happens and you have to sell stuff off, but I've got a few really nice guns that I really like, and that's all you really need, honestly. So
yeah, I need to thin out my herd and replace it with other stuff. So.
Yep. All right. On to Dad.
Well, as I indicated,
no, that's it.
Just, all right.
Well, let me start here. My first real centerfire handgun, and I specify real because I'd had others previous, but I started with the Colt single action when I was pretty young in 45 Colt and taking a ton of game with them. I still have a great fondness for the Colts. I use them, I carry them all the time, or at least Colt pattern like USFAs and some of those. This particular one's actually one that it's about a 1900 era gun, a little after 1902 or something, but I instead of it pitted bore, typical frontier gun that'd been abused. That seemed like somebody cut the barrel on this one and stuff. I just put in a modern barrel and cylinder and antiqued them to match the rest of the gun. Have some really cool jig bone stag grips on this. Shoots extremely well. But I use Colts a lot to this day. I normally carry in a hip holster like Porter describes when I'm riding a horse or whatever, but there's times like this that, under your coat, concealed dry is great, but I do a lot with single actions. They're just an incredibly rugged, reliable guns. Here's a custom Bisley, Ruger Bisley, color, turnbull case colored, line board cylinder, express barrel with barrel band, bighorn sheep grips on it. Fabulous gun. I actually put that on the front cover of Handloader magazine. Also a big time fan of the 44 Special in many configurations. Here's a real early Ruger flat top 357 that I converted to 44 Special. Again, line board chambers and so forth, custom barrel. Lightweight, 34, 35 ounces on that gun.
Dad also likes his carved holsters, especially the 120 style, Tom 30-person style.
Yeah, you got to look at them. See?
Yeah.
So carved holsters are like an engraved gun. They're especially in my background with knowing many saddle makers, and I've used saddle makers over the years. Between a cheap saddle and a quality saddle, and I appreciate good workmanship, I guess is what I'm saying, and those certainly qualify. Mm-hmm. Another gun I'm very fond of is the Colt New Frontier series. This being a custom gun that they didn't make a 4 3/4 inch 44 Special back in the second generation series. This one has Skeeter style carved grips on it, ivory grips with a buffalo skull. I marked the barrel 44 Russian and 44 Special on this custom gun, but it's a shooter. It's in an El Paso Tortilla holster, carved, and anyway, but those are some things I like. There was a day when I used to shoot Smith & Wesson double actions a lot, and especially the end frames, the 4-inch pre-29s and 29s. Here's a couple that are kind of special guns. 4-inch 1950 target. Got our old family cattle brand on this side and a steer head carved on this side, gripped by Paul Persinger, by the way. And that gun's a serious shooter, by the way. But of course, that's a Lawrence 34F, which was influenced by Elmer Keith in the design. This is, of course, a Model 29 or pre-29 actually, 5-screw frame gun, 4-inch barrel. Again, ivory stocks and so forth. Those are some of how my tastes go. You know, we'll actually cover a lot of this later on, another day. As I indicated earlier, I have a very broad interest in firearms. Even though I love that classic stuff, I do appreciate the modern technology we have with rifles and optics and range finding and all that's incredible. I used to shoot 1,000-yard competition before it became so scientific as it is today, and so I'm not new to the game, but I've marveled at the new bullets and the new technology and the high BCs and the technical side of that. I'm very astute with it. Another thing that
I think all of us like pretty much all guns.
Yeah. If it goes big, we like it.
a good gun is a good gun.
Yeah, and it's funny because, you know, these companies, it's like every day there's a new gun coming out somewhere, and we're like, oh, we need it. Like, you have a new gun?
Yeah. Well, another thing we take very serious, especially Porter and I, is our varmint rifles.
Yeah.
And this one I just pulled out of my pickup as I came here. It wasn't even what, a scratch?
Yeah, I guess. Dad's gonna never have scratches.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
He's looking at Porter's safe, and every single gun's all beat to
Beat to shit. It's because I use them so much.
Anyway, we love our varmint rifles, and you know, a good varmint rifle doesn't cost much.
Yeah, that one was $400. It's one of the Howa 1500 models.
Yeah, they're a little more than that now, but this thing shoots incredibly well.
Yeah, this shoots half-inch to an inch all day long, which
it's probably a very underrated gun these days. Is the Howa 1500.
I consider I consider these one of the highest, values on the market. Underrated, very good guns. And we'll do reviews on these. But we have a lot of varmint rifles. Some of my pickups and trucks and so forth, I leave varmint rifles in them year round because some of those things never leave the place, and yet you always need a rifle in there. You don't want to be carrying them back and forth to the pickup. And
we've been there with a box of 20 or 30 rounds, and
you can kill a lot of coyotes with that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, they something else that I've been pretty associated with in my writings has been lever guns. And again, I love really good, there's so many really good lever guns. People that don't ever use them really kind of underestimate what lever guns are capable of accuracy wise, and how they carry and how they use, how they balance, their compact nature and so on. This is just a early 1895 Marlin from the 1970s. Actually it's a 1972 model, but I bought my first one of these back in the mid 70s, and been shooting them ever since and trust them incredibly. Of course, you can load the 4570 up to a lot more horsepower than what the soft SAMI loads are. SAMI meaning Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturers Institute, because they load them soft in deference to the old 1873 Springfields and 1884s and so on, and black powder era guns basically. But with modern design, modern steel and that, these can put out some pretty serious horsepower. And as you know, modern 4570s sell like crazy.
Right.
But even at that, other lever guns, I've got lever guns in 223 and 308, 358. Yeah. You know, a variety of other calibers that offer, a lot of versatility.
Other things that you can do with them.
If I'm not shooting something big, I'm probably not going to be carrying a 4570 on the horse on the mountain. It'll probably be more of a varmint cartridge.
Yeah, shoot a rabbit with a 4570.
Yeah.
Blow them up.
So, Elmer Keith was shooting them with the 41 mag.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Bigger's always better.
Well, that's the truth. Bigger is always better.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I've shot rabbits before with an AR-15 with just a 55 grain load, and they don't even know they've been shot. Like you'll see like fur fly off them like this, and they just sit there like, what was that? And then they hop around for a bit and then finally die. It's like that bullet just passes through so fast they don't even know.
Yeah.
Well, it's not so much faster, just that sharp pointed bullet doesn't produce a shock.
Well, and if they were a bigger animal, I know like the 55 grain loads tumble and they can actually do some pretty serious damage, but with a rabbit, I mean, by the time it's already passed through, it's not even
happened.
Yeah, nothing happened. Yeah.
Well, it's like I had a friend that they were standing in a circle. They had a Smith & Wesson Model 39, and it was loaded with a magazine, of full metal jackets. The slide was back, and this is clear back in the early 70s.
And being idiots, passing around a loaded gun.
They were standing in a circle, and somebody dropped it, and the slide slammed shut, and the gun went full auto and spun in a circle, and went just like that, and it was over. I mean, everybody's standing there like, what in the heck? And everybody okay, and they're scared the heck out of them. Everybody's like, I'm fine, I didn't get hit. They couldn't believe nobody got hit. Well, my friend was sitting there, and he actually rented an extra house from us. I knew him really well. And he'd sit there and rub his back like this. His back kept tickling, and he'd rub it like that. And then finally, one of the guys goes, "Hey, you're bleeding!" And he points at his hand, got blood over his hand, and that 9mm had gone in right beside his belly button and exited right by his backbone, but hadn't hit any bone or any structure. He didn't know he's hit. No shock. And that's one. And one of these days we'll actually do a video on 9mm and 45, and that's all very hot topic.
Kind of comparison.
We'll discuss those things, and because the 9 relies on good bullets to really be that effective, and so.
Yep. Anyways, I think that's about it that we want to talk about in this.
One other thing I was forgot to mention, and I know we've gotten quite a few comments on this. A lot of people asking for cap and ball revolver content, and I got my first cap and ball revolver when I was 13 or 14 for Christmas, but I've never really. It's kind of a newer thing for me, you know. Like I didn't shoot that one all that much, but I'm getting into them quite a bit right now, and so there's certainly going to be some cap and ball revolver content in the future. So just stay tuned for that. This one was worked over by Goons Gunworks, and the problem is just been trying to find caps. I'm just like everybody else, you know. It's not like we get special treatment. You can just call up some magical person, they'll send us percussion caps, you know. It doesn't happen that way. I actually just bought some so we can actually do some content with that. I bought them off Gunbroker and paid more than they're worth, but you know,
you wanted to shoot.
I want to be able to actually do some content on that for you guys. So
anyways, but I think that pretty much introduces all of us, I think, and kind of gives you a little bit of backstory to each one of us and kind of an understanding of what we do and what we enjoy.
Yeah, and I think on our channel, you know, we cover a huge variety of topics, from our gear spotlights on packs all the way to our long range and self-defense EDC to revolvers and single actions, and you know, just
everything,
anything and everything that's outdoor related. You know, we're going to cover it and do it, and you know, and we enjoy it.
We can only meet so often because, you know, we're all busy with our current jobs. That, you know, to produce 20 films a week is really hard to do, you know, so we can only produce so many per week. And so, you know, if you have a request or something, we know about it. We're just trying to get to that point. So,
and
you know, so anyways, I think that pretty much concludes it, though, wouldn't you say? That's a good wrap.
But yeah, the comment section, throw your requests and suggestions on videos and content and topics you want to get covered, and I mean, it's all on a list. We've got a good sized list that we're whittling away at, you know, and
as we can, we try.
So a lot of good content coming, and we appreciate your support. Make sure and go check out our Patreon and our Instagrams. You know, Jake and I, we're on Instagram. Not too many followers, but yeah, you know, I mean, your support and your watching the videos, liking, sharing, commenting, you know, our Patreon, all that, we appreciate all of you guys watching and taking time out of your day to see our content and support us. It means a lot. So
don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah, stay tuned, and Happy New Year, and we look forward to this upcoming year of great content. So thanks for watching.
Thank you.